Hi everybody, thank you for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure for Jonathan and I to be joined by Nick Perchard from Primary Stars Premier League. Welcome to the podcast today, Nick.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, it's fabulous. And it's such a timely conversation as well. So today we're going to be talking about how football can inspire children to be active, to look after their well-being and to develop important life skills. And, you know, it's not too long until Children's Mental Health Week. So it's a really good time for us to be chatting about this. And I know you guys have done some superb resources to support that. So that's what we're going to be chatting about in this session. So welcome, Nick.
Thank you.
Nick, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your role? Because you've got a really interesting role.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. So I'm Director of Community at the Premier League. I've been here for just shy of 11 years. And my role really is to lead on all of our social impact work. So we're very fortunate at the Premier League. You know, we're able to develop some of the best talent in the world, and we're able to bring in the best managers and the best players, and that's enabled us to be very successful. And we fundamentally believe that actually we should be sharing that success with the communities that have helped develop the game. So as the Premier League's developed over the last 33 years, we've been able to invest more and more funding into social impact programs like Premier League Primary Stars. And my role really is to try and make sure that money goes to the right place, that it's having the biggest impact it possibly can have, and to work with great partners, both in the game and education sector and other sectors, to make sure that anything that football does is really adding value. So I'm very, very privileged to have the role I do have.
That's incredible. And you guys do fantastic things. And so welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Lucy, and you can see Jonathan on the screen. Do you want to introduce yourself, Jonathan?
Yeah. I mean, I love the Primary Stars. As a head teacher, I used them quite a few times in the schools I was working in. So, yeah, we're more than happy to support the Primary Stars and what they do, because there's some really useful resources and really helpful for school leaders. So thank you for joining us.
No, thank you very much.
Great. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the Primary Stars and like how it started and what kind of things you offer?
Yeah, so, you know, the Premier League is this incredible vehicle, and our football clubs are this incredible vehicle, and we engage millions and millions of people around the world. 1.5 billion people watch the Premier League. So, you know, it's this enormous thing that sucks people in. And if you go into any school playground across England and across Wales, you'll hear children talking about the football. You'll see children recreating goals and celebrations and all these sorts of things. So really what Premier League Primary Stars is a tool to try and help schools to capture that enthusiasm and that interest in football, and then use it to try and help children's learning and getting them active. So we started back in 2017 with the programme, but our work in schools and football's work in schools predates that by decades, back to the 1980s. My first job in post-university was working in primary schools for a football club, trying to use football to engage young people. And that experience has given me a lifelong appreciation for the work that teachers do, because it is not an easy job. And obviously since then, things have only got harder. So as I say, back in 2016, 2017, we took the decision to expand our school's work. We felt there was an opportunity for us to do more. We talked quite closely with the government of the day to see where they felt we could add the most value. And we came up with this great programme, which has now engaged over 19,000 schools across England and Wales. And the idea really is that there is something there for every school. So the foundation is plprimarystars.com, which is a free website which has got over 650 curriculum linked resources on it. So we focus our attention on PE, PSHE, maths and English, 4 areas where we think that football can be used to add value to learning. So teachers can go onto the site, they can gain access to these free resources. We've had 70,000 teachers so far use those resources. We're reaching about 1.4 million children every year through those resources. And the idea, as I say, is that teachers can pick and choose. So they can look on the site, they can use the toolkits we've got to identify which topics and which themes they want to focus on, and then they can utilize great films and worksheets and homework ideas and all sorts of things that hopefully make their lives a little bit easier. Ultimately, Primary Stars is about making teachers' lives that little bit easier. So the website really is the mass engagement tool. We then do a whole host of different competitions and activities. So some of these will be themed around key days in the year. We know, for example, schools do a lot around World Book Day. So we tend to do big webinars with children's authors in those periods. We have a whole host of competitions. So we do an annual football competition. In the past, we've done poetry competitions with resilience as a theme, and got 50,000 children to write poems about their own experiences of resilience. So all of these sort of activities are sort of additional to the website. So teachers can utilize them as they see fit, and hopefully, engage thousands and thousands of children in that piece. And then the third layer of the program is our delivery by the clubs that we fund. So each of the professional football clubs has got a separate charity, and we fund them to go into primary schools and work with schools and work with teachers to try and add value, bring a different voice, bring a tracksuit, something that's hopefully going to inspire the children, get them engaged, get them involved. And that really is much more bespoke. So it depends on what the school requires. We have some schools that want clubs to go in and deliver much more targeted interventions. So working with children who perhaps are struggling a little bit, might be with mental health, might be academically, a whole host of different reasons why we'll be providing that targeted support. In other cases, it'll be working with teachers, perhaps newly trained teachers who are a little bit less confident or less knowledge in delivering PE, for example. That's a big challenge that we see. So a club coach will go in and support that teacher to deliver high quality PE lessons, do the sort of teacher training piece and co-teach over the course of a period of time, and gradually step away so that teacher develops their confidence and knowledge in the subject. And so a whole host of different things that we provide. All of the club coaches that we invest in are either working towards or have a high-level teaching assistant award status. So they are genuinely, high-quality professionals that can go in and add value to a school environment. So we think those three components really make it quite an attractive program. We've supported sort of 18 million attendances at club-led sessions so far. We're trying to get children active, but most importantly, really, outside of that, is using football in a way that is going to engage children and perhaps contextualize learning a little bit and make it relevant to young people who have a particular passion for football, but also open doors for those people who perhaps haven't considered football as yet. We have a big focus on trying to get girls, for example, more engaged in sport and physical activity. So last year we handed out over 4,000 new playing kits to schools specifically for girls teams, because we had feedback consistently that girls teams were just getting hand-me-down kits, which don't think that's right. So by providing new kits, again, we put the girls team at the front and center. This is about engaging, providing new opportunities for girls to play. So ultimately, it's about removing barriers, about using football to engage and inspire, and hopefully, as I say, making teachers' lives that little bit easier.
Sounds incredible. I mean, I didn't know all the things that you did and all the help you get offered for schools. I mean, the kit part, that makes so much of a difference to thousands of children around the country. So well done for what you're doing on that, and actually it should be really commended for it. We're coming up to Mental Health Week, and we know that football has a big influence on children. How does football have an influence on children's mental health?
Well, I think every head teacher and every senior leader that watches this, listens to this podcast will agree that children's mental health is a real issue. I've seen firsthand in my own family the issues that we've had through COVID and the impact that's had on young people's mental health. We've got services that are stretched. We've got a huge number of young people that aren't attending school regularly, all these challenges. And then if you add on top of that, the children that are in primary school at the moment, I think it's pretty difficult to predict what careers they'll have in 15, 20 years' time. So I think we have a bit of a responsibility, every organisation that works with young people, to try and deliver these children and young people into adulthood as best prepared as possible to be successful. And so what I think we can predict is that a young person going into adulthood that is physically and mentally well, that has communication, teamwork skills, dedication, resilience, self-esteem, these are the sorts of things that we know if you can set a young person up with those sorts of attributes, they are more likely to be successful in later life. So I think it's absolutely fundamental that we focus on developing that holistic young person. And all of those attributes I've just mentioned apply to professional footballers. So you can make real links here between the day-to-day skill development that all of our professional athletes are developing and the lives of a child and young person. You know, we've done some work with the likes of Harry Kane as an example. Now, everyone would see Harry Kane as, you know, this world superstar. He just scores goals for fun. His life's easy. Well, as a young player, Harry Kane got sent out to countless different clubs on loan, going to a new city as a young person, meeting new people for the first time, integrating into a new team, all these challenges, and often not playing a lot. All of these challenges that he had to face, the resilience that he had to show in order to get through that phase of his career and then go on to become the superstar that he has. That is relevant for young people because everyone will face challenges in their lives. Everyone will have to bounce back. And there is no sports person, whether they're professional, whether they're grassroots, in the world that has not had to deal with a setback and come back and bounce back. So what we try and do with all of our resources is use that sort of football analogy really to try and connect what young people see as you know, role models and superstars on their screen with the challenges they might face in their own lives, and try and provide sort of tools and techniques to enable them to develop. If you think about the psychological support that footballers get now, it's on a level with the physical development that they receive. So, you know, we need to elevate mental well-being across society, in my view, to the same level as physical well-being. And in doing so, hopefully we can create this next generation of really healthy young people. I mean, I look at my own football experience. I was not a player of any sort of standard, but actually my coaches and my managers were some of the biggest influences on my life. I've created friendships for life. I've learned how to work in a team. I've learned how to communicate. All of these things that have ultimately helped in my career. And I'm very fortunate to now work in the sport that I absolutely love. So I think you can see how football, sport, physical activity can be embedded really into lessons and activities that really focus on developing things like self-esteem, things like resilience. And so all of our resources on our website are developed with experts in that space. So we do a lot of work with the PSHE Association. We work with mental health charities and the likes of the BBC, Paralympics GB, a whole host of different organisations that can bring expertise in. And we also work with teachers. So all of our resources are designed by teachers for teachers. Ultimately, we need to make sure this is as simple as possible to use, that's going to add real value to a teacher's day, that ultimately they can take things off the shelf and be confident that that is going to be curriculum linked. It's going to help them with their own activity. So over the last 7 years since we launched Primary Stars, we've had consistent feedback actually from teachers that PSHE is an area that they would like us to do more in. It's an area perhaps that there is less in terms of structure around the curriculum, perhaps less teacher training in that space as well. So, and also very difficult subjects, you know, difficult conversations to have. So hopefully by, you know, creating a brilliant film that uses football as a way into a conversation, creating some activities that use football to help get that conversation started in a classroom, we are making teachers' lives easier in terms of having those quite challenging conversations, but also making sure that young people are really focusing on mental well-being and understanding that actually this isn't a taboo subject. It is something that we all need to discuss, we all need to understand and identify tools and techniques to work for us as an individual to help make us as healthy as possible in the long term. So, you know, we've had very good feedback from teachers. We do an annual survey that makes sure that the resources we're providing are hitting the mark. So we know that, you know, 91% of our teacher audience think that Primary Stars is helping them to improve children's enjoyment of sport, and we know the physical benefits that, the mental benefits that physical activity brings. We know that 89% of teachers think that Primary Stars is helping improve communication skills, teamwork skills. So, you know, ultimately it's about providing that well-rounded holistic support for a young person. I hope Primary Stars is contributing to that from a school's perspective.
Sounds amazing. And again, it's the wide range of what you're doing and how you can support children with mental health. It is so important nowadays that we are really focusing on it. So what are the actual resources that you have to support children's mental health then?
Well, so wellbeing runs through everything we do. So whether it's an anti-bullying week resource, whether it's a resource looking at gender stereotypes, a whole host of different things, wellbeing will be embedded in there in some way, shape or form. But we have some standalone resources that are specifically focused on mental wellbeing. And every single year, our resilience resources are the most utilised by teachers. It's very interesting, very consistent. Resilience followed by self-esteem. Those are the two that always get traction within a school environment. So we've tried to build that package. We know it's popular. We know teachers are interested in it. So we've actually got a new resource launching back end of January, which is focused on self-esteem. And this is all around sort of understanding self-esteem and its influences and ways to build it. And, you know, I think we need to be clear with young people that everyone will go through a period or periods in their life where actually they have low self-esteem. And it's about how you deal with that. It's about the tools and techniques that you can develop to try and bring you through that period. And again, you know, all athletes, professional athletes, grassroots athletes have faced that dilemma. So we're able to use those professional football examples to try and get young people thinking about their own lifestyle. So we've got lots of things in there. We've got a new youth voice film. We've got a wellbeing wheel. We've got additional worksheets, tools and activities that hopefully teachers can look at and utilize as they see fit. You know, the idea with this is that there's a whole lesson there if teachers want to take it off the shelf and utilize it with teacher guidance, teacher notes that go with it. But they might just want to use the film. They might just want to use a worksheet. It's entirely up to a teacher how they want to embed that. That's one of our key ones. We've also got a really interesting resource that we developed last year around actions and reactions. And this is all about trying to get young people to understand the impact of their actions ultimately. So this is focused around negative behaviors, negative language towards others, and trying to get young people to put themselves in others' shoes around how they would respond if that happened to them. So again, this idea that actually we need to get children thinking about the way they interact with others, trying to create a more positive environment around them. We have other resources around healthy body, healthy mind. You know, we fundamentally believe that getting children active is a positive thing to do. We will push PE and school sport as much as we possibly can because we think it's absolutely critical. But we also recognise that teachers have got an awful lot to cram into their day. So how can we use active learning in the classroom to try and get people moving, but also add that sort of curriculum piece as well. We've got a wellbeing stars resource, which is an all-encompassing piece around a wellbeing week planner with worksheets and a whole host of other tools and offers. And then the one that I keep coming back to really is the resources we've developed with Harry Kane, who is absolutely brilliant. And this is all around resilience. So how can we get young people to understand the challenges they will face in their life, to build the resilience to overcome these challenges, and to ultimately develop that mental toughness that everyone needs to be successful. So all of those resources are free. They're on www.plprimarystars.com. Teachers can go on there, register, they can have a look around. All of the resources are themed, so you can search by key stage, you can search by theme, you can search by subject, a whole host of different ways in which you can pick and choose what's of interest. But I would just encourage all teachers and heads to go and have a look around, because there might be stuff on there that actually would really sort of spark some interest in them and think about how they might use that, particularly in that week that we've got coming up in February. But then longer term, you know, that might be a way into a subject for a half term's worth of work or a longer term project.
Wow. Well, I've just been sitting here thinking of all the fantastic ways that we can tap into that, you know, and my head is just like exploding with ideas. And I'm thinking of assemblies, I'm thinking of interventions, I'm thinking of reward systems in school. There's so many things on top of the very important layer of, you know, supporting children's mental health that we can tap into through what you guys are doing. Not only that, but it's inspirational. There's definitely a wow moment when you guys come into school. Children absolutely love it and they come alive. So it all sounds fantastic. So thank you so much, Nick. So how easy is it for us to get started? So if I was like a head teacher in a school today and I'm thinking, wow, I really like the sound of all of this, what do I do and how do I do it?
Well, I think there's two things here. There's the club support, and it's very easy to find the 103 clubs that are delivering Premier League Primary Stars. So you go on plprimarystars.com. There's a whole host of clubs on there that you can look at the details. You can contact them if there's one in your area. And 103 means we've got pretty good geographical reach across England and Wales. Just get in touch with them, have a discussion. They'll be able to look at what they might be able to offer to your school, and understand the challenges that you're facing, and try and build that relationship. We often see clubs going into schools for the first time to work perhaps one-to-one with a newly qualified teacher, or a teacher that needs that little bit of support. But the head teacher notices and sees the impact that that's had on that teacher and on that group of children, and then expands that support out to a whole school approach. So I would encourage everyone to have a look at clubs in their area. But from a resource perspective, it really is very simple. So you can go on, you can register on the site. It's very simple to do. It's all free, and you can have a look around. And I think the key thing here is to explore. So we often hear teachers come up, and head teachers talk to us about the fact that they had a particular issue within their school or within a particular class, and they went on the website and they just had a look around. They found something that actually would allow them to have a conversation about that challenge. And we do a whole host around anti-discrimination, for example. Obviously, we do a lot around the wellbeing space, but a whole host of other things that are on that website. So by exploring, you're able to look at what is available to you. And as I say, we've tried to make it much more flexible over a period of time. So when we started, it was here's an entire lesson, here's the teacher speaking notes, off you go. And we had lots of feedback from teachers saying, well, actually, that's great, and we still offer that, but can you make it more flexible? Can we just have chunks that we can use in an assembly? So often a teacher or a head teacher will utilize one of our films at the start of an assembly, which then forms the basis of the work that perhaps Key Stage 2 or Key Stage 1 are going to do over the course of a period of time. So, we've tried to make it as flexible as possible. Where we have those quite challenging subjects, and some of these subjects are difficult to have conversations around, we've expanded out the teacher notes. So we have guidance documents there written by subject experts that are able to make sure that teachers can go in to have those conversations with real confidence that, if something comes up, if a question comes up or a conversation goes in a certain direction, that they feel that actually they can manage that situation. We've had consistent feedback from teachers that they really wanted that level of support, and they felt uncomfortable in certain areas having some of these more challenging conversations. So we hope that adds value. But we also do a whole host of teacher webinars, which are specifically designed around individual subjects and individual resources. So if we do something that is perhaps more challenging for a school to implement, then we'll have one of these teacher webinars that anyone can look at, either live or recorded, and utilize as they see fit. So go and have a look at the website. We also have a whole host of activities that run pretty normally in line with big world days, national days. World Book Day I've already mentioned, Anti-Bullying Week I've already mentioned. These are moments that we know schools tend to do some activity around. So we'll tend to provide some more significant activations around that. Last World Book Day we did an online event with children and authors where we had over 500,000 children engaged. And that's a brilliant way of us using the Premier League to engage a lot of young people in a subject. And again, hopefully it just opens the door for people to then have those conversations at a later date. The other thing I would say, and you mentioned, Lucy, rewards. And one of the things we've always done, when we started Primary Stars, people said, children love stickers. So we've created a lot of stickers. So every school that signs up to Primary Stars gets a physical pack, which has got reward stickers in it. It's got postcards that can be used to send home. It's got posters, a whole host of different things and it's all aligned to our Premier League values. So be inspiring, be ambitious, be connected, and be fair. And we like to think that all of those values can align pretty much with most school values. So we see teachers utilize the stickers in a PE environment or a classroom environment, and they're then able to use that learning across subjects. So there was a lovely example recently. One of our clubs was working with a teacher in a PE lesson. The teacher was going around recognizing or rewarding young people for being ambitious in what they were trying or being fair in the way they were working. And then later in the week, when in a classroom setting, they were able to refer back to that example and say, remember when you were really ambitious and you were really trying in that piece because PE is a subject you really like. Well, actually, you can do the same in this environment. So it's all about trying to cross-curricular work is what we're trying to achieve. And I hope that we've made it as simple as possible for teachers to use and for head teachers to get access to and think, well, actually, this can apply right the way from the first entrance into school right the way up to year 6. And we try and make sure that everything is relevant. But we're also always learning. So this program has evolved over 7 or 8 years. We want to make sure it remains relevant. So we're always open to feedback. If teachers have got something that actually they really think we could do something that's going to add value to them or make their lives easier or make the program more easy to implement across the school, then we just want feedback. So again, there's opportunities through plprimarystars.com for teachers to provide that feedback.
Wowee. I mean, that's just great. I mean, you've made my day for a start with the stickers. I mean, like, all children love a sticker, but the quality of what you're offering is absolutely superb on so many different levels. And I think it's really, really inspirational. And I know there's going to be a lot of children and young people who will be really inspired by, your teaching and your resources. So thank you so much for that. So how do our schools find out? I know you've mentioned the website. Do you want to share it again? And we'll put the link.
Just go on to plprimarystars.com, register as a teacher. And so we've had 70,000 teachers from 19,000 schools registered to date. We're in about 86%, I think, of primary schools across England and Wales. So, we're out there. The resources are out there. Go on, have a look around. Particularly, obviously, at this time of year, have a look at the wellbeing resources. There's lots on there to explore. Think about how you might be able to utilise some of those activities and films within Children's Mental Health Week in February, and explore and give us feedback, because the more feedback we get, the easier it is for us to make sure that what we are providing is going to add value. The last thing we want to do is create loads of resources that actually are not going to be used by teachers. They're not going to add value. So the more feedback we get, the more we can advance this program, the easier we can make teachers' lives, hopefully, and hopefully the impact on young people will just go up and up and up. And ultimately, we have enormous respect for the work that all teachers are doing. This is a really challenging space. Young people are in need of so much support. And so anything we can do just to make that teacher's life just that little bit easier, hopefully we're doing, and we're willing to do even more in the future.
Amazing. Thank you.
What a great podcast that we're talking about. I mean, it's something that myself and Lucy are so interested in, especially the children's mental health. We know that there's a bit of a crisis at the moment that we've got to try and help. And actually, if this is one way that we can use resources from the Premier League Primary Stars, then that'd be a great thing for school leaders to use and to actually just help out. So thank you, Nick, for joining us today. Really fascinating session. And
Absolutely.
thank you for all our listeners.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, and thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. We hope you found it really helpful. We'll share the link that Nick has been mentioning underneath this podcast, so that you've got everything you need.
Yeah, and we'd like to close the session today because I always do a quote of the day. So whenever I do a podcast, I always have a quote to end it. And today we got Rita Pearson's one. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understand the power of connection and insist that they become the best they can possibly be. And that's what we've been talking about today in some ways, is actually how Premier League Primary Stars can help you become the best you can be. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks, Jonathan.